Today I'm showing you the replacement of Saab 9.3 wheel arch liner. As a Brucey bonus, I'm also going to show you how to fit one of these aerodynamic aid under trays. My existing wheel arch liner is all broken up as a result of the rear end smash I had recently, and this video is a continuation of the playlist of rebuilding the car. The rear wheel arch liners are held in place pretty much the same as the front wheel arch liners are. So if you're watching this video, then you can translate the method to the front as well. First job, raise the car in the air, support it on an axle stand, remove the wheel. Depending on the year of car you've got, there's either 9 or 10 fixings in total, and you will need 10mm and 8mm sockets. With the 10mm you'll need either a deep socket or an extension. If you start at the back, there's a fixing here, depending on the year of the car, depends what's behind here. There's a fixing here which is possibly an 8mm, and then this one which you get out from underneath, from the liner to the bumper, 8mm. Here there's an 8mm liner to bumper, and here there's an 8mm liner to bumper and bumper bracket. Here at the front, at the back end of the side skirt, there's an 8mm to the side skirt. With a 10mm on a longer extension, up at the top of the wheel arch, inside here, inside of this feature, there's a stud, a body stud with a 10mm plastic nut on. So you need to be able to put your 10mm in there. There are now 3 more fixings, 1, 2, 3, all plastic nuts on body studs. Unscrew those with your 10mm deep socket. There's also a stud here, just above and rearwards of the shock absorber mount, and again, depending on what year of car it is, you may or may not have a plastic nut on that. With all the fixings removed, lift the liner off these 3 lower studs and this one behind the shock absorber mount, so that the inside edge comes free, and get your fingers behind the outer edge, pull it from over the wheel arch all the way round, and then it'll drop down and out it comes. As an aside, now I've got the wheel arch liner out, you can also see that at the back end of the sill trim here, I'm missing a fixing. In fact, I'm missing a couple down the length of it. You can replace that with an 8mm fir tree clip. You'll also be able to see, once you've got the wheel arch liner off, that there's all sorts of dirt and mud traps. On another day I'm going to attend to those dirt traps. Today I'm concentrating on changing the liner and repairing the damage from the accident. Depending on the age of your car, you will either have this aerodynamic undershield or this very simple shield here. This is fitted on earlier cars, this on later cars. You can see that's obviously a significant cost reduction compared to that, which is probably why it's fitted. This aerodynamic shield has vents in it which face rearwards, so that the air that's vented from inside the car that comes through the boot comes out of this flap here, comes out of these flaps, travels round and then gets sucked out into the low pressure area behind the car. And also it smooths, when it's in place, it smooths the airflow from the back wheel, which you don't get on later cars. Because I got my spare bumper and spare wheel arch liners from an earlier car. I've gained this from an earlier car and I'm fitting it to mine, which means that I now need to remove this. The earlier cars have a fixing point here for this shield, which has been deleted from later cars. Obviously it's part of the cost saving, but I'm going to fix these 2 points here to the wheel arch liner before I put a fixing in there. And for my car, I've got a self-drilling, self-tapping screw that I'm going to put in, but I need to find the position first. To put the wheel arch liner back, offer the liner in horizontally initially, this leg that way, and lift it up the vertical position. Make sure you know where that stud is, because that gives you the position of this feature here. And just push into place. You can look, there's a little groove in the side skirt that'll help you to position it first. But I find with these things that there's always a bit of a fight to be had. But if you get this upper fixing on first, then that gets you your first datum position. Then this lower back one pretty much starts to fall into place then. Make sure that the stud up here goes through the hole, and then when it does, that should position this here, and it'll hold into place, ready to accept its fixings. You should be able to start these ones down here by hand, and put this plastic nut back on. Don't do these up mega tight, just nip them down. If you do them too tight, you'll strip the thread from the centre of the plastic nut. 8mm screw back in here at the back end of the side skirt. If you've got the opportunity to choose fixings because you've got another one that came with fixings, then obviously put the best fixing you can in there. At this stage, if you've got the rear bumper off like I have, then don't put the 8mm fixing in here, because there's a tag with a hole in it on the front edge of the rear bumper that goes between this bracket and the wheel arch liner, so that the screw goes through and it holds both the liner and the bumper in position to this bracket. If the bumper is on, then of course put that on. Now the rear fixing of this under tray fixes onto the stud that the bumper fixes onto at the back there. Then lift it into place, again with a little jiggery pokery, so that it sits on this lip on the wheel arch liner. If, like me, you're fitting one of these off an earlier car onto a later car, then on your car, remove the spring clip nut from the wheel arch liner. There's one on this under tray. There's a hole in the bumper, there's a feature in the bumper that takes a fixing, and the fixing goes through the bumper first, then through the liner hole into the nutsert on the under tray. If you're not fitting an under tray, and you'll need to leave this nutsert on your liner. If you're fitting this under tray, there are two fixings to go here. 8mm screws into the nutsert. Now that I know where it goes, I can fit this leg to the body. If yours is an early car, you'll have a fixing point here. I've already centre punched this hole. I'll link to some suitable self-drilling, self-tapping screws down in the description. I'll also try and find a supply of new clip nuts and screws as well, and link to those. So I hope you found this useful and interesting. Give it a like down below, and I'll see you next time.